Tonight, if your heart feels heavy and your thoughts refuse to quiet down, understand this: you are not alone. There are moments when the weight of life presses so deeply that even silence feels loud, and even rest feels distant. Perhaps your mind is racing, replaying fears, uncertainties, or burdens you cannot seem to set down. That heaviness you feel, it is real. But it is not the end of your story. Before we go any further, take a slow, deep breath. Let it fill your lungs completely, and gently release it. Do it again. With each breath, allow your body to soften, your shoulders to loosen, and your thoughts to slow. You don't need to solve everything right now. You don't need to have all the answers in this moment. Right now, you are simply here, and that is enough. If this message is speaking to you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and follow along. These words are here to guide you into peace, to steady your mind, and to remind you that you are never walking through life alone. There is more ahead that will help you rest, so stay with me. Let us begin with a simple prayer. Father, in this quiet moment, we come before you with open hearts. We ask for your peace to settle over every anxious thought, every restless feeling, and every hidden fear. Draw near to us now. Let your presence fill this space, bringing calm where there is chaos and light where there is darkness. Remind us that you are here, that you see us, and that you care deeply for every detail of our lives. In this moment, we choose to rest in you. Amen. As your breathing slows and your heart begins to settle, allow these words to guide your thoughts towards something steady and unshakable. The scriptures remind us that God is not distant, He is near, and He is a place of refuge. In Psalm 23, we are given one of the most comforting images. The Lord is my shepherd. A shepherd leads, protects, and provides. This means you are not wandering through life without direction. Even when the path feels unclear, you are being guided. He leads you beside still waters, not chaos. He restores your soul, not drains it. The restoration described here is not superficial. It is deep, reaching into the very core of who you are. Even when you walk through dark valleys, you are not abandoned there. His presence remains steady and constant, offering comfort even when circumstances do not change immediately. This assurance flows naturally into the confidence expressed in Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Fear often grows in uncertainty, but this passage reframes everything. Even if opposition rises, even if life feels like a battlefield, there is a deeper stability that cannot be shaken. Imagine standing firm while everything around you shifts. This is the kind of confidence being described. It is not denial of difficulty, but a declaration that fear does not have the final word. Even in the presence of threats, there is a quiet strength that holds you in place. That strength becomes even more expansive in Psalm 46, where the imagery intensifies. The earth may give way, mountains may fall into the sea, waters may roar and foam. These are not small disturbances. They represent total upheaval, the kind of chaos that would normally overwhelm any sense of control. And yet, in the middle of this, there is a command. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness here is not passive. It is intentional trust. It is the decision to stop striving, to release the illusion of control, and to recognize that there is a greater power holding everything together. Even when the world feels unstable, there is a foundation that does not move. This sense of security deepens further in Psalm 91, where protection is described in vivid, almost tangible terms. To dwell in the shelter of the Most High is to live under covering, under care. It is the image of being shielded from dangers seen and unseen. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. This language is deeply personal. It suggests closeness, warmth, and safety. It speaks to the kind of protection that is not distant or abstract, but near and enveloping. The passage continues with powerful reassurance. You do not need to fear the terror of the night or the threats of the day. These words address both the visible and invisible fears that often dominate the mind. Whether it is anxiety that rises in the quiet hours or pressure that builds during the day, the promise remains the same. There is protection beyond what you can see. Even the mention of angels suggests that there are forces at work on your behalf, guarding you in ways you may never fully realize. As these truths begin to settle into your thoughts, notice what is happening within you. The tension that once felt overwhelming starts to loosen. The fear that once felt dominant begins to shrink, not because every problem has disappeared, but because something greater has taken its place. You are not alone in your struggle. You are not unprotected in your uncertainty. You are not without guidance in your confusion. There is a presence that surrounds you, supports you, and sustains you, even now, in this very moment. So as you continue to breathe slowly and rest quietly, hold on to this. You are being led, you are being protected, and you are being restored. Let these truths settle deeper than your fears. Let them become the foundation beneath your thoughts. And as you remain here, allow peace to gently replace anxiety, one breath at a time. As these words continue to settle into your heart, a deeper transformation begins to take place, one that moves beyond comfort and into release. Because at the core of anxiety, there is often one central force: fear. Not just fear of what is happening, but fear of what might happen. Fear of losing control, fear of uncertainty, fear of outcomes we cannot predict. And yet, the path toward peace requires us to confront this directly. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space in full measure. They operate on opposite principles. Fear grows when we feel that everything depends on us, that we must manage every outcome, anticipate every problem, and hold everything together by our own strength. It is the burden of control, and it is heavy. Faith, on the other hand, is the deliberate release of that burden. It is not passivity or denial, it is trust. It is the decision to say, I do not control everything, and I was never meant to. There is one greater than me who sees what I cannot see and holds what I cannot hold. This shift from fear to faith is not always immediate. It often happens gradually through repetition and reinforcement. That is why one of the most powerful phrases repeated throughout Scripture is simple, direct, and deeply intentional: do not fear. These words appear again and again, not as a suggestion, but as a command rooted in truth. The repetition is not accidental, it is formative. It trains the mind, it reshapes the internal dialogue. When you hear "do not fear" once, it may feel like encouragement. When you hear it repeatedly, it begins to rewire how you think. It interrupts the automatic patterns of anxiety and replaces them with something steadier. Each time you return to it, it weakens the hold of fear and strengthens the foundation of trust. So even now, let those words echo gently within you. Do not fear. Not because life is easy, but because you are not facing it alone. Do not fear, not because you understand everything, but because you are held by one who does. Do not fear, not because nothing can go wrong, but because even when things do, you are not abandoned in them. This is where the promises found in Isaiah become deeply personal. They are not distant declarations meant for someone else. They are direct assurances that speak into the very fears you carry. Do not fear, for I am with you. This is the first and most foundational promise. The presence of God is not conditional on your strength, your performance, or your circumstances. It is constant. To say, I am with you, is to remove the idea of isolation completely. Even in moments where you feel unseen or unsupported, this truth remains unchanged. You are not navigating this alone. There is a presence beside you that does not fade, does not withdraw, and does not weaken. I will strengthen you. This promise addresses another hidden layer of fear. the fear that you are not strong enough to endure what lies ahead. And in many ways, that fear is valid. On your own, your strength is limited. But this promise shifts the source of strength entirely. It is not about finding more within yourself. It is about receiving strength from beyond yourself. Strength that meets you exactly where you are. Strength that sustains you when your own energy is gone. Strength that does not depend on your circumstances being favorable. I will help you. This is not a distant, passive assistance. It is active, intentional support. Help implies involvement. It means that in the situations you face, you are not left to figure everything out on your own. There is guidance available. There is intervention, even when you cannot see it clearly. There is a hand extended toward you, steady and reliable. And then, perhaps most powerfully, I will not forsake you. This speaks directly to one of the deepest human fears, the fear of abandonment. The fear that when things become too difficult, you will be left behind. But this promise eliminates that possibility. It declares that there is no situation, no failure, no weakness that will cause God to walk away from you. His commitment is not fragile. It does not depend on your perfection. It is unwavering. As these promises begin to take root, something shifts internally. The mind that was once dominated by uncertainty starts to anchor itself in something more stable. The heart that was overwhelmed by fear begins to experience a quiet confidence, not loud or forceful, but steady and enduring. This is how faith grows, not by ignoring fear, but by replacing it with truth again and again. Each time fear rises, you return to what is certain. Each time anxiety speaks, you answer it with what has been promised. Over time, the balance changes. Fear loses its authority. Faith becomes the stronger voice. So as you continue to rest in this moment, allow these truths to settle deeper within you. You are not alone. You are being strengthened. You are being helped. And you are not being abandoned. Let those realities become more familiar than your fears. Stay here for a moment longer. Breathe slowly. Let your thoughts align with what is true rather than what is uncertain. And as you do, notice how the weight begins to lift. Not all at once, but gradually, gently, as faith begins to take its rightful place. As faith begins to take root and the grip of fear slowly loosens, the message now moves from promise into direct invitation. Up to this point, you have been reminded that you are not alone, that you are protected, and that you are held. But now, something more personal unfolds, because the words of Jesus do not merely describe peace, they offer a clear path into it. In Matthew 6, Jesus addresses anxiety with remarkable clarity. He does not ignore the reality of daily needs, food, clothing, survival, but he reframes how you relate to them. Do not worry about your life, he says. This is not a dismissal of responsibility. It is a challenge to the assumption that worry adds value. Then he draws your attention to something simple, almost ordinary, the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet they are fed. This image is not about passivity, it is about provision. The birds still move, still live, still act, but they are not consumed by anxiety over their future. Their existence is sustained by something beyond their own effort. And then comes the question that shifts everything. Are you not much more valuable than they? This is the underlying truth that anxiety often distorts: your value. When worry takes over, it subtly suggests that everything depends on you because you are alone in maintaining your life. But Jesus counters this directly. Your life is seen, your needs are known, your value is not in question. He continues with another image: the flowers of the field. They do not labor or spin, yet they are clothed with a beauty that surpasses even the greatest human effort. Here, the message becomes even more profound. If something so temporary, so fleeting, is cared for with such detail, how much more will you be cared for? These images are not poetic distractions. They are cognitive recalibrations. They redirect your focus from scarcity to provision, from self-reliance to trust. And then comes the conclusion. Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough of its own. This is an invitation to return to the present moment. Anxiety often lives in the future. What might happen? What could go wrong? But peace exists in the present, where provision already meets you. Right here, in this moment, you are sustained. Right now, you are breathing, you are here, and you are not forgotten. This naturally leads into another invitation, one that is even more direct and deeply personal. In Matthew 11, Jesus speaks not to the abstract idea of anxiety, but to those who feel its weight. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Notice the simplicity of this call. Come. There is no requirement to fix yourself first, no demand to become stronger before approaching. The condition is not perfection, it is weariness. If you are tired, if you are overwhelmed, if you are carrying more than you can handle, then you qualify. And the promise is rest. Not temporary distraction, not momentary relief, but true rest for your soul. A rest that reaches deeper than physical exhaustion. A rest that quiets the internal tension, the constant pressure, the restless striving. Take my yoke upon you, he continues. A yoke is something that joins two together, sharing a burden. This means you are not being asked to carry everything alone anymore. The weight you have been holding is now shared. And more than that, his yoke is described as easy, his burden as light. This does not mean life becomes effortless. It means you are no longer carrying it in isolation. As this invitation settles into your heart, something begins to shift again, not just in how you think, but in what you believe at a deeper level. Because beyond the relief of anxiety, there is a more foundational truth that strengthens everything. Your identity and your position are secure. In Romans 8, this truth is declared with unmistakable clarity. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. This speaks directly to another hidden source of anxiety, the fear of not being enough, the fear of failure, the fear that you are somehow disqualified. But this statement removes that fear completely. Condemnation implies judgment, rejection, distance, and here it is eliminated. You are not standing under constant evaluation, waiting to be rejected. Instead, you are accepted, fully. And the passage continues to build. Nothing can separate you from the love of God. Not trouble, not hardship, not fear, not even your own weakness. This is not fragile love, it is unbreakable. It does not fluctuate with your circumstances or your performance. It remains constant. Think about what this means for a moment. If nothing can separate you from this love, then the foundation of your life is no longer unstable. The fear of losing everything, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of being undone, it begins to dissolve. Because what matters most is already secure. This deeper assurance is reinforced further in John 14-16, where Jesus prepares his followers for uncertainty, yet leaves them with something greater than clarity. He leaves them with peace. Do not let your hearts be troubled, he says, not because trouble will disappear, but because peace is being given. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. This distinction is critical. The peace offered here is not dependent on circumstances aligning perfectly. It is not fragile or temporary. It is internal, steady, and resilient. Even more, he promises the coming of the Holy Spirit, the Advocate, the Helper. This means you are not only supported externally, but guided internally. There is a presence within you that teaches, reminds, strengthens, and comforts. When you feel uncertain, you are not directionless. When you feel weak, you are not without support. When you feel overwhelmed, you are not left to manage it alone. The help you need is not distant. It is already with you, even within you. As all of this comes together, the picture becomes clear. You are invited to release worry, to step into rest, to stand in acceptance, and to live in a peace that is not easily shaken. This is not theoretical. It is practical, accessible, and present. So remain here for a moment. Let these truths settle deeper than your fears. Let them reshape how you see your situation, how you see yourself, and how you move forward. You are not alone. You are not condemned. You are deeply loved. And you are being led into a peace that goes beyond understanding. As these truths settle deeper into your heart, the next step becomes clear. Peace is not only something you receive, it is something you practice. What you have heard so far is not meant to remain abstract. It is meant to move into your daily life, shaping how you think, how you respond, and how you live. And this is where the guidance found in Philippians 4 becomes incredibly practical. The instruction is simple, but profoundly effective. Do not be anxious about anything. Instead, in every situation, bring your requests to God. This is the first movement. Pray. Prayer is not about perfect words or structured language. It is about honest connection. It is the act of taking what is inside you, your fears, your worries, your uncertainties, and placing them before God. When you pray, you are no longer carrying those burdens alone. You are transferring them. But the instruction does not stop there. It continues with thanksgiving. This is the second movement. Thank. Gratitude shifts your focus. While anxiety pulls your attention toward what is missing or uncertain, gratitude anchors you in what is already present. It reminds you that even in difficulty, there are evidences of care, provision, and grace. When you give thanks, you interrupt the cycle of worry and replace it with awareness. Then comes the third movement, trust. After you have prayed and given thanks, there is a moment where you release the outcome. You allow what you have brought before God to remain with Him. You resist the urge to take it back through overthinking or control. Trust is not passive, it is active surrender. It is choosing, again and again, to believe that God is working, even when you cannot see how. And the result of this process is clear: peace. Not a fragile peace that depends on everything going right, but a peace that transcends understanding. It guards your heart and your mind. It stands watch over your inner world, preventing anxiety from overwhelming you. This is not theoretical. It is a pattern you can return to, repeatedly, in every situation. As you begin to practice this, another transformation becomes necessary: the renewal of your mind. In Romans 12, the instruction is direct. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This speaks to something deeper than behavior. It addresses your internal framework. The patterns of this world often reinforce anxiety, constant comparison, pressure to perform, fear of failure, the need to control outcomes. If left unchallenged, these patterns shape your thinking automatically. But renewal means replacing those patterns with truth. It is an intentional process. You begin to notice your thoughts. When fear arises, you question it. Is this aligned with truth, or is it driven by uncertainty? When anxiety speaks, you answer it, not with denial, but with what you now know to be real. Over time, this changes how you respond. Your reactions become less automatic and more grounded. Your mind becomes less reactive and more stable. This transformation is not instant, it is ongoing. But each time you choose truth over fear, you strengthen a new pattern. Each time you return to what is certain, you weaken the hold of anxiety. Gradually, your thinking shifts. And as your thinking changes, so does your experience. This renewed mindset leads naturally into a renewed way of living, as described in Colossians 3. You are invited to set your mind on things above, not in a way that ignores reality, but in a way that anchors your perspective beyond it. This means your identity, your worth, and your direction are no longer defined by temporary circumstances. You begin to put on new qualities: compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. These are not just moral instructions, they are stabilizing forces. They shape how you interact with others, but also how you treat yourself. Instead of harshness or self-criticism, you learn to respond with grace. Instead of impatience, you develop steadiness. And above all, you are told to put on love. Because love is what binds everything together. It is the environment in which peace grows. When your life is rooted in love, not performance, not fear, not comparison, there is a coherence, a unity that replaces internal conflict. This brings everything to its final and most powerful conclusion. Love overcomes fear. In 1 John 4, the statement is clear. Perfect love drives out fear. This is not a poetic idea, it is a fundamental truth. Fear thrives in uncertainty, in insecurity, in the possibility of loss or rejection. But love, when fully understood, removes those conditions. If you are fully loved, you do not need to fear being abandoned. If you are fully accepted, you do not need to fear being rejected. If you are fully known, you do not need to fear being exposed. Love addresses the root of fear, not just its symptoms. And this love is not something you have to create or earn. It is something that has already been given. We love because He first loved us. This means your peace does not depend on your ability to hold everything together. It depends on the reality that you are already held. This truth becomes even more personal when you consider the words of Psalm 139. You are completely known. Every thought, every movement, every detail of your life is seen. There is no part of you that is hidden, no part that is misunderstood. And yet, you are still loved. This is what makes the difference. To be fully known and still fully accepted removes the need to hide, to strive, to prove yourself. It allows you to rest, not because you are perfect, but because you are understood. Where can you go from His presence? Nowhere. Not in your highest moments, not in your lowest, not in clarity, not in confusion. There is no place where you are outside of His awareness or His care. Even in darkness, there is no separation. Even in uncertainty, there is no distance. So now, as everything comes together, return to where you are in this moment. Notice your breathing. Notice the quiet that has begun to form within you. The anxiety that once felt overwhelming has begun to loosen, not because everything has changed externally, but because something has shifted internally. Hold on to this. You are being protected, even when you cannot see it. You are deeply loved, even when you do not feel it. You are fully known and still fully accepted. And because of this, you can have peace. Not a temporary peace, not a fragile peace, but a steady, enduring peace that remains with you. As you move forward from this moment, carry these truths with you. Return to them when fear rises. Practice them when anxiety speaks. And tonight, as you rest, allow this peace to stay with you, quietly, gently, faithfully, one breath at a time.